Who are you beyond the masks you wear every day? This is a question many avoid, perhaps due to the fear of what they might find if they look deeply within. But paradoxically, it is precisely this inner gaze that brings the answers we incessantly seek in the external world. Carl Jung, with his characteristic depth, said, "He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens." It is not just a philosophical phrase. It is an invitation to a journey that can change everything. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. This mirror, however, reflects not just your appearance. It shows who you truly are. It reveals not only what is visible but also what has been hidden, ignored, or repressed. It's as if each layer removed reveals a deeper truth about yourself, until nothing remains but the essence. This inner mirror is a powerful tool, but it requires courage to face. Self-knowledge is the first step towards any true transformation. Without it, we wander like leaves in the wind, at the mercy of others' expectations and circumstances. But when we decide to look inward, we recognize that we are more than the roles we play, more than the labels we accept. This awakening frees us for a more authentic life, a life that resonates with who we truly are. Perhaps you've already felt this call, a restlessness, an unease suggesting that something more is waiting to be discovered. It is yourself, the deepest core of your being, asking to be heard. When you answer this call, you begin a transformative journey where each challenge becomes an opportunity for growth, and each victory a reminder that the path is worth it. We all wear masks. From an early age, we learn to shape who we are to fit the world's expectations. Carl Jung called this mask the persona, a layer of our psyche that we create to interact with society, like an actor adapting to a role on the grand stage of life. The persona is not, in itself, a bad thing. It helps us navigate relationships and fulfill our social roles. The problem arises when we start to believe we are this mask, forgetting that behind it exists a true self waiting to be rediscovered. In the digital age, the persona takes on new dimensions. Social media has become a showcase where we project an idealized version of ourselves. A life edited in photos, words, and stories we choose to share. How many times have you asked yourself, is this version of me that others see really who I am? Perhaps, without realizing, we become prisoners of others' approval, hostages to likes and comments that validate our existence superficially. But what about the true self? The one that needs no filters, that is not defined by what others expect. It is often sidelined, suffocated by the pressures of conformity. As Jung said, we are trapped by what the world expects of us, but what does our true self desire? This question opens a portal for deep reflection on how we live and why, at many moments, we feel an inexplicable emptiness. Recognizing the persona does not mean rejecting it, but understanding that it is only a part of us, a useful tool but not our essence. This recognition is a liberating act. It allows us to ask, who am I when no one is looking, and what truly makes me feel alive? Discovering these answers is a gradual process, but it begins with the courage to differentiate the voice of society from the voice of ourself. By recognizing the persona and its limitations, we take the first step toward reconnecting with our authentic self. It is the beginning of a journey where external approval loses its importance, and inner truth becomes the most reliable guide. Within each of us exists a hidden space, a territory we avoid exploring. Carl Jung called this space the shadow, the part of our psyche where we store everything we deem inadequate, shameful, or incompatible with the image we want to project to the world. This space is like a dark attic, filled with memories, emotions, and desires we prefer to ignore, but that never cease to influence our lives. The shadow is not merely a repository of negative traits. It contains repressed parts of ourselves that, when recognized, can become sources of creativity, strength, and authenticity. Imagine someone who was taught never to show anger because that would be wrong. They may have repressed that feeling for years, but it doesn't disappear. On the contrary, it manifests in unexpected ways, perhaps in outbursts of frustration or passive-aggressive behavior. By exploring this shadow, they may discover that their anger actually carries a message: the need to set healthy boundaries and protect what is important. When we refuse to look at our shadow, it gains power. We become prisoners of unconscious patterns that sabotage our efforts, of fears we don't understand, and of desires that silently control us. Jung said that what we ignore in ourselves controls us, and that's why facing the shadow is an essential step in the process of self-knowledge. But exploring the shadow requires courage. It demands the willingness to look at parts of ourselves we avoid, to confront the fears and insecurities we hide even from ourselves. It's an uncomfortable process but profoundly transformative. When we accept our shadow, we not only free ourselves from its grip, but we also discover treasures we never imagined we possessed. Accepting the shadow does not mean giving in to destructive impulses, but integrating them consciously. It means saying, I see you. I accept you. And now, together, we can work towards wholeness. This act of integrating the shadow is one of the most powerful steps in the journey of self-knowledge, because it leads us to live with greater authenticity and less fear. And you? Which parts of yourself have you not yet had the courage to explore? Perhaps it's time to light up that dark attic and discover that what seemed frightening was actually an opportunity to become whole. Emotions are the messengers of the soul. They carry truths we often prefer to ignore, but which are always there, waiting to be heard. However, in our quest for control and stability, we often treat emotions as enemies, something to be avoided or suppressed. Anger, sadness, fear, all these feelings are seen as signs of weakness or character flaws. But what if we looked at them differently? What if, instead of seeing them as obstacles, we treated them as guides on the path of self-knowledge? Anger, for example, is like an emergency siren. It screams that something important is being neglected, that our boundaries have been crossed, or that our values are being disrespected. Sadness, on the other hand, connects us with the depth of our needs, with what truly matters and makes us feel alive. Fear, when not paralyzing, can be a teacher, pointing to areas where we need to grow or confront challenges we've postponed for too long. These emotions, when recognized and explored, become maps that guide us to a deeper understanding of who we are. Denying them is like ignoring signs on an unknown road. We end up lost and disoriented. Accepting emotions, on the other hand, is like lighting a lantern in the dark. Carl Jung saw emotions as manifestations of the unconscious, ways in which our self tries to communicate with us. They are not random. They are coded messages that, when deciphered, reveal parts of ourselves that were hidden. Jung said, emotions do not lie. And it's true. They are perhaps the most authentic form of expression we have because they come directly from the core of our being. Accepting emotions does not mean being dominated by them. It means giving them space to exist, to be understood and processed. A simple but powerful practice is to ask, what is this emotion trying to teach me? Instead of resisting what we feel, we can embrace the learning opportunity that each emotion brings. This process also connects us with spirituality. When we accept our emotions, we accept our wholeness, light and shadow, strength and vulnerability. This acceptance is an act of self-love, a recognition that we are whole beings, made to feel and learn. Therefore, the next time an intense emotion arises, don't reject it. Instead, welcome it as a messenger. Listen to what it has to say. Perhaps you'll discover that at the center of what seemed like pain, there's an invitation to awaken to a more authentic version of yourself. Imagine looking at the world as a mirror, a perfect reflection, not of what's outside, but of what's inside. This is the concept of projection, a central idea in Carl Jung's psychology. Projection is the unconscious act of attributing to others characteristics that actually belong to us. What we judge, admire, or fear in others is often an indication of something within ourselves that we are not ready to recognize. Think of a time when someone irritated you deeply. Perhaps it was a colleague's arrogance or a friend's impatience. Jung invites us to ask ourselves, what is this person reflecting about me? It may be uncomfortable to admit, but often what we criticize in others is a part of ourselves that we've repressed or rejected. For example, if you feel bothered by someone else's self-confidence, it may be because you don't allow that same confidence to manifest in your own life. Projection also happens with positive qualities. When we admire someone for their courage or compassion, it's possible that we are recognizing these same characteristics within ourselves, but that we haven't fully realized them yet. It's as if the universe uses others as mirrors, showing us both our weaknesses and our potential. This process is not easy to identify because projections are unconscious. They happen without us realizing it. But by becoming aware of this mechanism, we can transform projections into powerful tools for self-knowledge. Whenever you feel a strong judgment, positive or negative, ask yourself, what does this say about me? This simple question can open doors to a deeper understanding of who you are. Jung believed that the external world reflects our internal state. When we are at peace with ourselves, the world seems more welcoming. When we are in conflict, the world seems hostile. This perception can completely change the way we relate to others. Instead of blaming or idealizing the people around us, we can use them as guides, helping us discover parts of ourselves that are still in the shadow. Recognizing our projections gives us our power back. We stop waiting for others to fill our voids or solve our internal conflicts. Instead, we take responsibility for our journey of growth. This shift in perspective is liberating because it allows us to see the world more clearly and authentically. So, the next time someone sparks an intense emotion in you, whether admiration, irritation, or anything else, stop and reflect. What is this interaction trying to teach you about yourself? In this act of introspection, you will begin to uncover the mysteries of your own soul and reconnect with your deepest essence. There are moments in our lives when seemingly disconnected events converge in such a meaningful way that they seem to go beyond mere coincidence. An unexpected encounter that answers an old question, a repetitive number that appears at crucial moments, or even dreams that become reality. Carl Jung called these phenomena synchronicity, events that do not have a direct causal relationship but carry deep meaning. Synchronicity reminds us that the universe is not just a succession of random events. It is an intricate fabric of connections where the internal and the external intertwine in ways that defy logic. When you are aligned with your purpose, these meaningful coincidences seem to intensify. It's as if the universe is whispering, "You are on the right path." Imagine walking down a road and, with every step, finding small clues guiding you toward your destination. A book that appears exactly when you most need its message. A person who enters your life bringing an answer you didn't even know you were searching for. These are the signs of synchronicity, invitations from the universe to open your eyes and pay attention. These events are much more than mere curiosities. They are a reminder that we are connected to something greater, a universal intelligence that guides us when we are open to listening. However, to perceive synchronicity, one must be present. Being present is the key that unlocks this dialogue between you and the cosmos. Jung believed that synchronicity was not just a mysterious phenomenon, but a tool to help us align with our life's purpose. When you follow the signs, you begin to notice a natural flow in life, where doors open and opportunities arise at the exact moment. But it is also important to remember that synchronicity doesn't compel us to do anything. It points to directions, but the choice to follow them is always ours. To cultivate this connection, practices such as meditation, journaling, and mindfulness can be extremely helpful. They help us slow down, silence the noise of the external world, and listen to the symbolic language of the universe. And when these signs appear, ask yourself, what is this trying to show me? What path is being illuminated for me now? Synchronicity is an invitation to trust. Trust that there is a greater purpose in your journey, even when you can't see the full path. These small moments of meaning are like stars in the night sky, guiding us back home, to the self, to the essence of who we truly are. So, the next time something seemingly coincidental crosses your path, don't dismiss it as mere chance. Pay attention, open yourself to what is being shown, and let the universe guide you with its silent wisdom. There comes a moment in the journey of self-knowledge when we are confronted with an inevitable question. Is the life I am living truly mine, or am I just fulfilling external expectations? This questioning may be uncomfortable, but it is also deeply liberating. It is the moment when we begin to distinguish between the persona we've created for the world and our true self, the self that calls for authenticity. The persona, as we've already explored, is the mask we wear to be accepted. It is useful, even necessary at many moments. However, when we confuse this mask with our essence, we become prisoners of a narrative we did not write. How many times have you felt you were living to please others, while something inside of you whispered that it should be different? That whisper is your authentic voice, a call to abandon superficiality and live with purpose. Being authentic, however, is not an act of rebellion against the world, but an act of self-love. It is the courage to look inward and say, "This is what I truly want. This is what resonates with my truth." This authenticity, however, requires us to leave behind the expectations that were imposed upon us. It challenges us to let go of the fear of disappointing others and to embrace the uncertainty that comes with living our own truth. But how do we find this true voice amidst the noise of the world? A practical exercise is to ask yourself, what are my true values? And if no one were watching, what would I do with my life? These questions may seem simple, but their answers have the power to reveal who you truly are. Another practice is to identify moments when you feel a profound sense of alignment, as if you were exactly where you were meant to be. These moments are clues that you are living in tune with your authenticity. By embracing your true voice, you will also discover that authenticity is not about perfection. It's about acceptance, accepting that you are a complete human being with strengths and vulnerabilities, with light and shadow. This acceptance is liberating because it eliminates the need to hide who you are. Instead, you can simply be. And most importantly, living authentically inspires others to do the same. When you let go of your masks, you invite those around you to do the same, creating deeper and more meaningful connections. Remember, your true voice is always there, waiting to be heard. All it needs is for you to allow yourself to listen to it, and to have the courage to let it guide your journey. We live in a world where technology has become an extension of who we are. Social media, in particular, has transformed the way we present ourselves to the world. On these platforms, we project carefully curated images of our lives, creating idealized versions of ourselves, versions that often reflect more of what we want others to see than who we truly are. But what happens when we confuse this digital persona with our true essence? In the digital age, the search for external validation reaches new heights. Likes, comments, and followers become an illusory metric of worth. It's easy to lose oneself in this cycle, constantly seeking approval and recognition, while the inner voice, which truly matters, is drowned out by the incessant noise of the virtual world. How many times have you caught yourself checking notifications, waiting for a response that never truly fills the void? Technology is not the enemy but a tool. However, when we disconnect from our essence in favor of a digital persona, we risk distancing ourselves from self-knowledge. Jung taught us that true awakening happens when we look inward. But how can we look inward if we are constantly focused on the outside, on screens that reflect only fragments of who we are? Reflecting on the relationship between our digital self and our authentic self is crucial to reclaiming balance. Ask yourself, does the way I present myself online reflect who I truly am? And how much of my time and energy is being spent trying to maintain an image, instead of nurturing my inner being? These questions may bring uncomfortable truths to light, but they also offer an opportunity for realignment. A valuable practice is to establish moments of digital disconnection. Set aside time to step away from screens and reconnect with the real world. Meditate, journal, or simply spend time in silence. These breaks are essential for hearing the voice of the self, the one that is often drowned out by the digital persona. It is also important to redefine how we use social media. Instead of being a stage for external validation, it can become a space to share your authenticity. Be honest, vulnerable, and true in your interactions. Remember that you don't need to please everyone. Your true light will always attract those who are in tune with your energy. In the digital age, self-knowledge is a revolutionary act. It challenges us to look beyond the masks, both online and offline, and reconnect with what is real. And in doing so, we discover that true value does not lie in the number of likes, but in the depth of our connection with ourselves. Taking care of yourself is often seen as a luxury or indulgence, but in reality, self-care is a deeply spiritual and revolutionary act. It is the foundation that sustains the entire process of self-knowledge and transformation. Without a genuine commitment to our well-being, both physical and emotional, we become vulnerable to burnout, disconnected from our essence, and unable to face the challenges that arise on our path. Self-care is more than external practices, such as a spa day or physical exercises. It is a declaration of self-love, a way of honoring the divine being that resides within each of us. It is recognizing that, in order to be light in the world, we must first nourish the flame within us. But what does it mean in practice to take care of yourself? It can start with something as simple as setting aside moments of silence to listen to your inner voice. Meditation, for example, helps us create a space where we can observe our thoughts without judgment, allowing our emotions and desires to reveal themselves with clarity. Journaling, the habit of writing about what we feel and think, is another powerful tool. It gives us a safe space to explore our worries and celebrate our achievements, helping us understand who we are more clearly. Conscious rest is also essential. In a world that values productivity above all else, rest is often undervalued. But it is indispensable to recharge our energies and maintain mental and spiritual clarity. Sleeping well, taking breaks throughout the day, and allowing ourselves moments of leisure are simple, yet profound acts that contribute to our balance. Another crucial aspect of self-care is setting healthy boundaries. Often, we feel the need to please everyone or meet the demands of the world without questioning, which can lead us to burnout. Learning to say no is an act of respect for ourselves and a way to preserve our energy for what truly matters. Self-care, however, is not just about protection and renewal. It is also an act of connection with the divine. When we care for ourselves, we honor the temple that is our body and the light that is our soul. This practice reminds us that we are worthy of love, compassion, and attention from ourselves above all. Taking care of oneself is not selfish, it is a necessity. By doing so, you not only strengthen yourself, but also become a source of inspiration and support for others. Your elevated energy radiates to those around you, creating a positive impact that transcends the individual. So ask yourself, what is my body, mind, and soul asking for right now? Listen carefully and respond with loving actions. Because in the end, taking care of yourself is an act of courage and transformation, an essential step towards living a more authentic and aligned life. The process of self-knowledge is, at the same time, a deeply human journey and a connection with what is transcendent. Carl Jung described this quest as the path to individuation, the process of integrating all parts of ourselves, light and shadow, ego and self, into a harmonious wholeness. But there is more. As we get to know ourselves more deeply, we approach a greater force, something that transcends our understanding but is intimately connected to our being. The divine is not separate from us. It dwells in every one of our thoughts, actions, and emotions. By exploring who we are, we find traces of this sacred presence in our own hearts. When we connect with our most authentic essence, we discover that we are also connected with the universe, with the creative energy that unites all things. This bridge between self-knowledge and the divine is not built overnight. It requires courage to face our fears, patience to listen to our deepest truths, and willingness to integrate all parts of who we are. When we begin to see the divine within ourselves, we realize that this connection is not a separation from the material world, but a fusion, the recognition that the spiritual and the physical are inseparable. At many times, the most human experiences lead us to encounter the divine. An act of compassion, a moment of silence in nature, an emotion so deep it seems to overflow with inexplicable meaning. These experiences are invitations to remind us that we are both unique and part of something much greater. Jung believed that the self is not just a psychological aspect, but also a portal to the transcendental. When we align with ourself, we become a channel to express this divine energy in the world. That is why the integration of the shadow and the persona is so important. Only by fully accepting who we are can we manifest our purest light. The journey of self-knowledge is, therefore, also a spiritual journey. It leads us to recognize that all our pains, doubts, and victories have a greater purpose, one that is intrinsically linked to the universal flow. And by embracing our wholeness, we realize that every choice, every thought, every moment of presence is a way to honor this connection with the divine. By integrating who we are, light, shadow, persona, and authenticity, we become instruments of transformation, not only of ourselves but also of the world around us. This journey is not easy, but it is deeply rewarding because it brings us back to ourselves and to the sacred that we carry within us. Remember, knowing yourself is also touching the infinite. As you walk this path, you will become a beacon for others who seek to find their own connection with the divine. The journey of self-knowledge is undoubtedly one of the most challenging and rewarding undertakings we can embark on. It is not a straight line, but a path full of twists, highs and lows, moments of clarity and periods of doubt. Yet, it is the only road that leads us to true transformation, the integration of who we are, and alignment with what we can become. By looking inward, we discover that each experience, each emotion, each shadow carried a purpose. Anger taught us about our limits, sadness connected us with our essence, joy showed us what is worth it. Even our projections and masks were guides, pointing to the places where we needed to grow. By integrating our shadow and freeing ourselves from the expectations of the persona, we begin to live with more authenticity and courage. We recognize that the external world is a reflection of what we carry within, and that, by changing internally, we have the power to transform the world around us. And then the true magic happens. Self-knowledge not only transforms our lives, but also becomes a gift to those around us. Our authenticity inspires others to seek their own truths. Our vulnerability teaches that we don't need to be perfect to be worthy of love. And our light, when fully accepted, illuminates the paths of those who are still in darkness. But this journey has no endpoint. It is a continuous process, a cycle of discoveries and integrations. There will always be new layers to explore, new parts of us to accept, and new horizons to reach. And that is what makes life so rich and meaningful. Remember, every small step counts. Each moment of introspection, each decision to be true to yourself, each act of courage to face your shadow is a victory. Because in the end, what truly matters is not where we arrive, but who we become along the way. Now ask yourself, what does my next step hold for me? What part of me is waiting to be discovered and embraced? Allow yourself to hear this answer, and trust that you have everything you need to move forward. And if this message resonated with you, remember that your journey doesn't have to be solitary. Together, we can create a space for reflection, learning, and transformation. Like this video so that this message can reach more people who are in search of their truth. Share your reflections in the comments. Each insight you share could inspire someone. And subscribe to the channel to continue exploring themes that connect us with what is deeper and more meaningful in our lives. Your journey is unique, but its impact echoes all around you. Thank you for being here. Until the next video, and may your light continue to shine brightly.